Eddie, another good win at the weekend. How are the lads feeling ahead of this one, given the fact that the run extends to 8 winning games now?
Yeah, lads are good, as you'd naturally expect. I think there's a good energy, good feel. We know this is an important week for us. We're coming up to 2 big Premier League games. Home games again, so it's great to be back at home. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
You left out a few of the players on Sunday who've played a lot recently, a couple of them out of the squad altogether. How are those players? Are they likely to be back involved for the Wolves match?
Yeah, we'll have a look at them again today. They were left out with genuine reasons. So all different things, but nothing major, we hope. So minor problems that we needed to settle down. Fingers crossed they'll be there or thereabouts.
Big week it was for Sven Botman last week, playing the 2 matches in the space of a few days. Will the rest since then have done him a decent amount of good?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always a balance because you of course, after 2 such big physical games for Sven, we needed to rest and recover him, and there was a few warning signs that he was going into fatigue. But then, of course, you need to get back up and running again because the schedule is unrelenting. So, yeah, as I say, those players will assess. We'll try and make the right calls for them individually, and hopefully they'll be okay. And
Alex is obviously scoring for fun at the moment. I think he could set a new club record if he scores in this match. It would be 8 Premier League matches in a row that he scored, in eclipsing your own Joe Willock and club legend Alan Shearer. I guess he'll be desperate to play, and how good is it to have him part of your squad right now with the confidence, I would guess, coursing through his veins?
Yeah, he'd be desperate to play, of course. Those runs I'm not really too focused on and not too interested in, but I understand the individuals will care deeply about them. I'd love Alex to continue to score. I think most important thing for me is that the team is functioning well for him and he's functioning well for the team. The two things go hand in hand together. We have looked like scoring goals recently. That's such a big thing for our confidence levels. He's played a big part in that. Hopefully that continues.
I don't know if you'd be more bothered about this record, but the last time Newcastle won 8 in a row in all competitions was 20 years ago when Graham Souness was in charge, and the last time you won 9 in a row in all competitions was just over 30 years ago when Kevin Keegan was in charge. I know you'll only be looking to the next game, but you've got 2 home games next week. You could potentially eclipse both of those. Do those records, or potentially breaking those records, mean anything to you?
I think they're nice, but I don't think we can look 2 games ahead. This next game is going to be hard enough. We just look one step, and for me, it's always one step ahead. It's the next game. It's making sure that we approach the game in the right way. I think there's dangers to winning games. There's warning signs that you need to steer clear of. We need to be absolutely focused and treat this game like an individual game that it is, and then we'll move on to the next one when that happens. But our focus and preparation and our detail has to be spot on. Wolves will be a tough opponent for us.
Is there any tiredness within the squad, given the schedule that you've had recently, or of the number of wins that you've had and the way you've been playing? Does that kind of push that to the sidelines? Do the players maybe not think of that so much?
We've tried to manage that. I think that the 3 away games we had, that's a dangerous period because I think there's mental fatigue that can build in that period where you're always travelling and that sense that you're never in one place for any fixed time. So I think we've tried to keep the lads fresh. We've given them a couple of days off, especially after the Arsenal game, to try and keep them fresh. So when they come in, they're looking forward to coming in. They're looking forward to training. Winning, as you said, naturally helps that feeling anyway. So I'd like to think that fatigue won't be an issue.
And we spoke after the Bromley match about Martin Dubravka. You're probably fed up being asked about it, but I think you said you were hopeful that you could come to some sort of agreement. Has there been any change in the last 48 hours?
No, there's no change. I think discussions will take place when they are. Yeah, as I said, I'm not directly involved in that.
And just in terms of the transfer window as a whole, and I know you said you expected it to be quiet. Halfway through, are you still expecting the same, or could there be a late flurry of activity?
Well, there's no change to that initial assessment currently, but I always say with transfer windows, you can never pre-plan them. You can never think, well, that's going to be our lot. It can change in the blink of an eye. So, but at the moment, we're on course for what we thought.
Thanks, Eddie. Cheers.
Thank you.
Andy? Well, Neddy, obviously the home ties couldn't last long, could they, in the cup competitions? Drawn away, but Birmingham, what's your reaction to that draw?
Yeah, I think always say we'd have preferred to be at home, but I think it's an interesting draw. I think Birmingham in great form. And Chris Davies has done a brilliant job there. I think they've got big ambitions as a football club, so I think we know when that game comes around, that'll be a tough test for us. Tough ground to go to, but we'll look forward to the FA Cup. We're keen to do well in the competition.
My delivery driver said to me yesterday morning, he said, this has the potential to be an amazing season now. Do you and the lads start to think that, considering what's happened over the last few weeks, given the league form, the cup form, etc.?
I think it's healthy to think that, but I don't think you can use that to sort of affect your thinking. Well, I can't. I certainly can't. I'll let everyone else do that. I think for me, it's, and I know it's boring, but it is game by game, and it is trying to keep our focus on what we can affect, which is our next training session, our next game, and making sure that we're not getting ahead of ourselves in both ways. So when we were having the disappointing run, it was about making sure that we didn't throw everything out and become despondent and etc. etc. But it's exactly the same when you're winning. It's making sure that you're consistent with what you do. The messages are clear, and we focus and don't take this position for granted, really. I think it's the Premier League is an unforgiving league, and we can't take our eye off the ball.
We've seen it with so many players that you've worked with over the last few years. We've seen it with Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, Lewis Miley as well. Now Will Asula producing the goods too. How much pleasure, how much delight do you get in seeing these players producing the goods after working so hard with them on the training ground?
I think, I think that it's the feeling you get from coaching and development is it's a sense of satisfaction. I wouldn't say it's a major high, but it's a consistent thing in my life now. I think that's what first attracted me to coaching, really, that player development, that ability to affect people's lives and improve their careers. It's a really nice feeling, and I think we all share that here. So me, Jason, Stephen, Graham, Simon, I think we all share that love for coaching and player development, and I think, as I say, it's not a major high, but it's something that's always there in your life. And that's what drives you every day to try and work closely with the players and build really good, tight-knit relationships. You go on the journey, you see the highs and lows. For me, that's why we love the job that we do.
Keith mentioned Martin Dubravka there. There's been so much speculation over him in the last couple of weeks. How is he doing it himself? Because it must not be nice with all the speculation flying around about his immediate future.
I think Martin's handled himself really well in this period. I think, there's been a lot of noise, but when I look at him, he's exactly the same. I think he's got the experience now in his career to be able to handle these moments. Maybe as a younger player would have found it much more challenging. But he's kept goal really well, and I think he's been very measured in his approach. He's never let anything off the field affect his psychology. I think he's been top draw.
Just finally, just one on Wolves under Vito Pereira. Obviously, they're experiencing an upturn in foot. What has he done right at Wolves, do you think? Why are they stronger now than they seemed to be before?
I think he's obviously connected with the players very quickly. You can see that. I think they're playing with a confidence that belies their form coming into when he took the job. They look a very settled team. They've got a really good way of playing, a very brave way of playing, a very clear identity. Their system has been formed when he came in, and he's stuck with that, and it looks like it's benefiting them. So I think a lot of positives for how he's sort of attacked the role. And Wolves will be very dangerous opponents. I think they've got some very good players, especially in the front line, some dangerous attackers that we're going to have to control.
Thanks, Andy. Dawn?
You mentioned Wolves there being tough opponents. This is the classic potential banana skin, isn't it, really, after eight wins?
Yeah, I think it's a dangerous game for us because Wolves are a very good team and they've got good individuals, as I say. So we don't underestimate anyone in the Premier League. We know how difficult the league is. And you have to be focused and mentally right to win any game. So I think they're all the challenges that we face. We believe in ourselves. We're at home. We love playing at home. So there's a lot going for us as well. But firstly, the psychology of the team has to be right.
Absolutely. You mentioned Dubravka. What's the situation currently with Miguel Almiron?
There's no situation. He's here every day. He's fighting for his place in the team. There's no change.
You're not expecting him to go to America?
I've not heard anything. He's an important part of the squad.
Okay. Apparently, a list of PSR breaches is going to be announced today. Are you concerned at all about that you might possibly be on that list?
No, I don't. I don't believe we are.
Good. That's excellent news. Presumably that would take a weight off your mind, going forward in this transfer window as well.
Yeah, of course. The breaching of financial fair play for us was something that we fought really hard in the summer to not be in that position, and that's why the departures, the ones that we didn't want to happen, had to happen, and hopefully we're not on that list.
No, fingers crossed. I keep forgetting to turn this off in between.
That's
Sorry. Just finally, when you're playing so many games in such a short space of time, often the players prefer that to actually doing loads and loads of training and then playing, because there's not that much training involved in between. Is that the case at the moment? Yeah,
I think so. I think the players enjoy training. I'd like to think they do. But I think there's no substitute for the games. The games are what we all are here for. That's what we train for. So I think we're loving the games at the moment. I think there's a really good atmosphere, home and away. The supporters are backing us. We're playing well. Bring them on.
So just finally, I meant, you took Isak off a couple of games ago. Is he fit to play on Wednesday?
He will be there or thereabouts. We haven't seen him train yet, but fingers crossed he will be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Go to George, Dominic, and then Jordan.
Morning, Eddie. You said just before that there are dangers to winning games and that there are warning signs you need to steer clear of. What are those dangers?
Well, I think naturally it's part of the human brain that whatever segment of results you're in, whatever you're feeling, there can be dangers to both winning and losing. And I think for us, the warning signs will be a lack of focus. And that really appears first on the training ground, and making sure the players are absolutely ready, absorbing the information that we try to give them, preparing for the game in the right way, and not lowering of standards. I have to say I haven't seen that the players have been very professional during this period. You don't get the run of results we've had if you don't have that right focus and preparation mentality. But it's really important we don't drop. We know how hard every game is in the Premier League, and this game will be no different.
And you've talked in the past about sort of having a fear of tomorrow and being motivated by fear. Is that the fear when things on the face of it are going sort of so well that it's a bit of complacency that drifts in? Is that what it is at the moment?
Yeah, I think you've got to guard against all of those things. I think you just got to I try to take every day. I don't prejudge sort of the attitude of the players. I'll sort of see it face to face and react accordingly at the time. But I've got to say, to this moment, the attitude and the desire and the motivation to win games has been really high, and I think that's the biggest thing that can't fall. I think the players see the bigger picture. I think we know how tight the league is still. We know that everything is there for us to play for. We can't lose sight of that, and I think it's that ambition's got to be in the team all the time.
Thank you. Dominic?
Morning, Eddie. Harvey Barnes went off injured at half-time on Sunday. Is there any update on him?
Yeah, Harvey will be missing for a period of time. We don't think it's a serious injury, but it will be enough to keep him out for a few weeks. I think we're probably looking around a month. Don't hold me to that, but that's sort of the early assessment. He's had a scan. As I say, it's not too bad, but it will be enough to keep him out. He'll definitely miss the upcoming games.
What is the injury specifically?
It's an injury to his thigh, a muscle in his thigh. He did it crossing a ball just towards the end of the first half. He felt he could carry on till half-time, but then it became apparent at half-time that he couldn't come out for the second half.
Cheers.
Thank you. Jordan?
Hi, Eddie. How tough a decision do you face at right centre-back tomorrow with Sven Botman and Fabian Schär both available?
Yeah, got a couple of tough decisions to make in the team. I think we've got, and that's the sign of a good team and a sign of a team that's winning games, with players that have put their hand up to start. They've come in and done well. They've elevated the team level, and now with, of course, Fabian coming back from suspension, that will be a decision they have to make.
And we've seen footage of Vaktar and Salia on Tyneside over the weekend. Pictured with you yourself. Did you manage to talk to him, and what did you manage to say to him?
Yeah, managed to have a good conversation with him, his family and his representatives. Seemed like a really good lad, really great attitude, hungry to learn. His next step is slightly unclear, but certainly a talented young player.
And how big of a coup is that for the football club? Because there's talk of Newcastle beating off a lot of competition to sign him.
Yeah, I think with the young players, I think that's where we have to be. We have to be in the hunt for talented young players around the world, the best young players. If we can give them a pathway here and an opportunity to develop their skills, whether that's the next steps on loan or whether that's coming in-house. Certainly the scouting team, the recruitment team is doing a lot of work with the younger players, and I certainly am wholeheartedly support that.
Thanks, John. We'll go to Lee, Rebecca and then Craig.
Eddie, on the PSR situation, obviously between January and June 30th last year was a pretty tough time for the club. Do you feel sort of more educated as a club now on those rules going forward, especially with what's going to get announced later today?
I think the club were educated last year. I don't think there was any surprise. I don't think that was an issue. I think maybe going back a couple of years, that might have been different, because I don't think the clubs were fully understanding what the punishments would be, what the consequences would be. But I think once they became apparent, then I think that certainly got everyone thinking seriously about the PSR situation. And I think for us, yes, last year was very difficult. And that's, of course, then a knock-on effect of what happened last summer. PSR continues to affect our decision-making in every moment, whether that's a contract renewal, whether that's whatever the situation regarding our squad, we have to think long and hard about every decision we make now. And that will continue to be the case as long as the rules are as they are. So certainly we're aware of everything, and last year will serve as a good reminder.
Do you sort of not dream, but do you look forward to the day when you've got kind of a blank canvas and you can go out and say, we can get 2 or 3 players in this window?
Yeah, I don't know how the rules are going to change, or if they're going to evolve through time, and I don't know how our club will continue to adapt to the rules. And obviously our income's key, and talk of new stadiums, etc., and all those things that will benefit us in our pursuit of bringing more income in are going to be really important to how we evolve as a football club. But that's for another day. I think my focus, as always, is on the next game.
Just on Isak, how careful do you have to be with him, knowing that Callum Wilson isn't there as a backup? I know you've got other players who can slot him, but how careful do you have to be with him?
Yeah, we have to be careful, of course, but that's why I did what I did against Arsenal, to try and protect him and make sure that we don't lose him. He's such a valuable player for us. But fingers crossed, all being well, he'll be fine and he'll take his place in the team.
Thanks, Lee. Becca.
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, it's just over a month since that Brentford defeat, and then you've gone on this winning run. Are there any kind of particular changes that you can see from the team in that almost kind of patchy form before Brentford into this winning run now?
Certainly, we haven't done anything radically different. I think people naturally assume, after the Brentford game, I ripped the walls off and this, that, and the other, and then the players have responded. And I think sometimes nothing could be further from the truth, because I think you have your beliefs and your principles and your style of play, and then you're just always moulding and tweaking and changing that to try and find a winning formula. And I think the biggest people that deserve credit and a lot of praise is the players for what they've done and how they've put that Brentford defeat behind them, how they responded to that moment. And then the consistency that we've shown since then, that's what we were craving all season, that's that run of winning games that everyone is fighting for, we've managed to put together. Now the key thing is that we can't fall off that, and we've got to try and continue to be as focused as we have been.
It's not just the wins as well. It's like the goals that being scored has obviously got all the plaudits, but your defence has done really well as well. I think it's only 3 goals conceded in that period. Just how impressed are you with them?
Well, certainly we needed to respond to that Brentford game, because that was the most disappointing thing to come out of that game. I thought we scored 2 goals. We looked like we could score more. but the 4 goals we conceded weren't us anywhere near our best. So the defensive resilience we've seen, especially in certain games, away from home, tough grounds, we've defended really well. And I do believe that if we can defend consistently well, and that goes through the team, that we can score goals. So I think it's a good mix for us.
Thank you. Craig, Ian, Luke.
Morning, Eddie. Today's PSR announcement has brought that back into focus, and we've spoken about this before, but one of the sad quirks of it, as we saw with Elliot Anderson, is that academy players also do generate that pure profit. Someone like Louis Miley potentially all of a sudden becomes your most saleable asset. What do you think about that? Now, certain players off limits, someone like Louis Miley, obviously it goes without saying you wouldn't want to lose him, but where are you on that with regards to those academy products and PSR, and someone like Louis in particular?
Yeah, I think without necessarily going into individual players, I think the last thing we want to do, or I want to do as the manager of the club, is to sell academy products that have the potential to play for this team for many, many years. Elliot being a case in point, really, that was the last sale we wanted to make. We knew Elliot's qualities. He'd just broken into the team really at the back end of last season and performed really well in a variety of roles for us. But we were faced with literally no other option in that moment. With 48 hours to go, we had to make a decision that we didn't want to make. So I think it will always be our last choice to do that. But when you add everything together and you go, well, it's a points deduction, breaching PSR or making a sale, I think you have to make the sale.
On Louis as well, what is he? Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? He certainly looked good in the 6 on Sunday. Can he in the short term be Sandro's body double?
You're back to the midfield balance again, Craig. He's a bit of everything. I wouldn't want to label him at the moment in terms of one position. I think he played really well as a 6, and I loved him in that position on Sunday. He got a lot of the ball and he took that responsibility excellently. But he has the ability to play as an 8. I think when he played last year, majority of the time he was the higher position. I remember him scoring, assisting. He's certainly got great legs. And I think what he's added in his time out is a bit more physicality, a bit more power. His aerial ability is improving as well. So very much an all-rounder who can do a bit of everything.
Thank you. Ian?
Good morning, Eddie. Keith mentioned earlier that you can equal a record set by Kevin Keegan's side with victory tomorrow. You were already mentioned in the same breath as Keegan and Robson. How exciting is it for you personally that you're in a position to eclipse the achievements of those club legends?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they are club legends, and rightly so. I don't really want to sort of talk about them together because they're individually what they achieved for the club. Kevin as a player and as a manager, and so Bobby as the sort of figure that he was. I can never think about putting myself at their level, but we just want to achieve what we can achieve and try and take the club to great places. So it's not about trying to sort of measure ourselves against them. It's about just trying to achieve for the people here and our supporters.
It's quite interesting just what you said, that you don't feel personally at their level, do you?
I just don't think about it. I think comparisons, players, managers are very difficult things to do because it's different eras, it's different times. But those people, quite rightly for me, are talked about and will continue to be talked about here for many, many years.
Thanks. Luke?
Don't take this the wrong way. Some people have said you're quite boring. Does that help you?
Are you going to give a bit more detail on that? Or?
Well, your obsession with work, football, everything to do with the job, does that help you as much in the good times as it does in the bad times? I've just insulted you for no reason.
I'm just trying to get my head around the critique of my personality. I think I never sort of list my strengths or weaknesses, to be honest. But I think one of my abilities or strongest abilities will be to try and stay level. Now, whether that's boring or not, that's for maybe other people to decide who know me better than you do. But I think keeping that stability in all phases, wins, losses, draws, success, perceived failure, it is important in this role, because I don't think your players want to see you there's a time to be emotional, but not overly emotional continuously, and it is that can be quite draining, and then you never quite know what to expect. I like to be there for my players on an emotional level on a daily basis, and I think extreme reactions will never help that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Martin?
Hi, Eddie. I'll avoid the insult. I'll leave
Thank
that
you,
to Luke.
Martin.
Can this season be a great one?
Yeah, I think this season can be. I mean, we're fighting on all fronts, really. I think it's down to us. We're coming to a key stage. Every game is potentially a pivotal moment. And we want sort of these next run of games to be pivotal moments for the good, not for the bad. So you saw Brentford, a really good reaction to a negative moment. There might come that time again where we have to respond really strongly to a difficult situation. So yeah, we just have to keep trying to win games, as many as we can.
And can you feel a mood change amongst the players now in terms of league position, 2 cups, everything's starting to boil and move in the right direction?
Yeah, I just sense with the players a good feeling. They're coming into work in a positive frame of mind. I always think this season there's been a really good feeling between the players. I sense a strong, tight-knit group. I wouldn't say that if I didn't feel it. And a really good response to a difficult start, which is really pleasing. It means they've got the mental qualities that we need.
Thanks, Martin. Go to Gary, Kieran, and then Dom.
Hi, Eddie. What is it actually been like in charge of the country's most informed team, and what pressures does that bring?
It doesn't feel any different, to be honest. I think we've just gone from game to game, and we've performed well. I've been very proud of the efforts from everybody, the staff and the players, and we've enjoyed it. But I don't think we've looked too deep into it. I don't think we've tried to overthink. I've encouraged the players to be free, to try and express themselves to their best level, and see where it takes us.
I know you've just touched on it briefly a moment ago, but can you feel a change in their mentality of going from sort of the hunters to the hunted? Everyone wants to beat Newcastle now with the run they're on. Does that change anything in the players' mindset?
Yeah, I don't necessarily get that feeling that there's been a huge shift in that respect. I mean, the Premier League's so competitive anyway. Everyone wants to beat each other. You go from every game knowing how determined the opposition are to win. They've got their own aims and ambitions. We've got ours. I don't sense a massive shift in that respect. But we know going into two home games, and of course we're going to look at Wolves first, but how difficult that game's going to be, and how difficult every Premier League game is if you drop from your best levels. The challenge for us is to stay where we have been.
Thanks, Gary. Kieran?
Morning. We've previously seen a group of teams dominate the Premier League, but obviously Newcastle and Aston Villa have disrupted that in recent years, and we see Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest up there. Does it feel like change is coming, that anything can be possible even with the barriers you face?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've answered this question a lot. I believe anything is possible for us. I've said the same last season. I said the same the season before. There's never a ceiling on what you can achieve. The only ceiling is what you potentially put in your own way, and I think that's an important point. I don't think we can try and put anything in our way. We've got to focus on ourselves. We've got to continue to be the best us. We've got, I think, a great squad, a tight-knit squad, not huge numbers. Any player we lose from injury is a big blow for us. That's why the Harvey situation was a big blow on Sunday. But then opportunities for other players to step up and prove their worth.
Maybe there was a narrative before this season that Newcastle wouldn't be in the conversation even at this stage of the season. Has that been fuel for you at all?
No, because I don't necessarily expose myself to those opinions. I think that's a waste of my energy and resources. So I know there's opinions out there, and I'm sure opinions are based really off our performances in our games in early season. Quite rightly, we received some criticism, I'm sure. But it was up to us to answer that and to try and fight back in the only way that we know, and that's to win games.
Thank you. Dom?
Hi, Eddie. Is the recent success even more satisfying after the difficult summer?
I think success is always satisfying to a degree. I mean, but I think where I am now, we're in the middle of a season and we've achieved nothing. So it's a good run. That's all it is at the moment. And we're sort of in the key moment where that could turn into something else. So that's why I think I would urge the players, and myself included, to ignore everything and just focus on the next one and try and win that game.
And would no movement in or out be a successful window?
Depends on your viewpoint, really. I think because it's not just a clear, straight line. For me, from a footballing perspective, that would probably be the best outcome. But of course, it's not just the football perspective to think of.